Zero wants to have a quick word. You got 30 seconds.
Promise me 5 minutes.
Okay. Mrs. Zero.
Please
give me a bit of hand.
Next on, I'll get anybody who's actually said they promised me 5 minutes, so I've got 5 minutes on the countdown. Okay. If I ruled the world, every day would be the first day of spring. No, I'm not really going to carry on like that because the whole point is it's meant to be actually very serious what we've been doing and talking about. But I got called Mr. Coincidence once because things happen around me. And in fact, everything's happened around the people around here. So the first person I would be coming up to speak about would be Pippa King, first time I ever met her. So I've got very few minutes counting down. But even my first introduction with Pippa, while she's talking about how we're dealing with the courts, and I've asked for things such as the court management files and the course transcript. And we should have a little breakthrough as well because they weren't getting any paperwork either, right at the beginning of this. And then when I was speaking with her, she turned around and says, Tiffany said, well, you can't have that paperwork, can't have that paperwork. And then she asked for the minutes from the courts. And then you're going to start to understand the minutes. You understand this is not court paperwork, this is business, it's just business minutes. So that kicks off next, and the first person, or next person up, and say, apparently Mickey owes me 5 minutes to talk as well, and he's done a lot of it. I met up with him by sheer coincidence while I'm not meant to be very well, couldn't walk very far, couldn't do any things. In particular, I've been sort of getting really worn out, but I found a way of keeping myself healthy and turned my energy around to end up in Market Square with the Occupied. And there was coincidence again, I like numbers, but the square was actually re-registered, which is why I had to get rid of all these Occupied people on the 11th of the 11th, 2011. Right, it's just coincidence numbers, but I love things like that. And I stood there as well, waiting for these very important people serving paperwork. It's a chap called conveyancing solicitor from the council called Stephen Fryer. Because I looked into the paperwork that was going on, it was very, very iffy and naughty, and ended up with a video from this man, Mark Stillon, while we were talking about corruption at the same time, of other things happening at the same time. All coincidence, but when I was down at Market Square on the phone trying to speak to him about when I'm being evicted from there, anybody who was in Market Square had a perfect right to be there. And what John Collins even announced in the newspapers, Councillor John Collins, which in fact I think is ridiculous, we're not going to use Councillor John Collins or titles. It's a man pretending to be somebody from the council, and he was very, very upset because we've got to find a way around this. So I looked at the paperwork, paid for the paperwork to get the registration, first time registration it ever been registered. It was on a trust for the people of Nottingham called the Alderman Trust. And so I got to look at the forms, and then I said, well, I need the affidavit statement, which will say that I've acted in accordance as the conveyancing solicitor is Stephen Fryer. The coincidence for that one is, unfortunately, while we're looking, and I've recorded absolutely everything, every conversation from the council employees or the government employees, I have kept records. So when this chap's actually rather upset, it's going, well, unfortunately, you can't have the affidavit statements from the land registry or even the council solicitors. Their affidavit statements, unfortunately, we're meant to scan them and then shred them, but we do it the wrong way around. So there's no evidence that it's ever been. Yeah, there must be a record somewhere where they've actually tried to prove that people on the square, and we're going to take Occupy to court, persons unknown, it's happened before, and of course there was never anybody in that square according to the paperwork. It was put vacant possession. That's when ended up, in fact it was only some misunderstanding actually, because that wasn't what I was saying, but what was written up on the screen was saying you're criminals, you're crooks, and at the same time, hadn't really got into the Mickey Summer stuff, but there were people abusing children, because I was being abused, and I'm not talking about the sexual abuse as a child, but as a grown-up, we're all the actual children for actually what's going on in this game, where we'll deal with that. So, Peter Ellis, who was actually the head of the Law Society in 2008, well, he started to send me letters and told me I was defamation of character for the people which are named on that video. And they went to town to try to remove those. Did those videos ever come down? No, but they'll give it a try. Charged me £2,500 to be paid into their account immediately for defamation of character. Well, I think they realised, well, I'm like, so it's just round the corner. We popped in to have a little chat with them and just explained this. Unfortunately, no problem at all. But if you open an account in my name, you've actually committed fraud by putting that name on that account. So you now need to give me the money from that account, £2,500. We need to know where that money's gone. You know, so all we got to know is you haven't heard the last of this, is what you're going on. But what I was actually accused of course, was defamation of character by telling them they're crooks, fraudsters, and I can't remember what else was. And of course, it was also accused of being child abusers or complicit in child abuse. The reason why I dealt with the letter there is I said, right, yeah, defamation of character, I'm ready for court. They couldn't send any more letters because defamation of character would have to be proved. And the things we've been looking at is abusive. And the way of actually dealing with the people in authority, well, when dealing with how Mickey has then, I say he's come from nowhere, the people behind him has grown more and more. He's mentioned Mandy, and he's mentioned Nigel, Amara, and what we're actually trying to achieve. He says, no, I'm not achieving anything, the people around me have. So when they're trying to find this type of proof, Mickey had to escort me, and I had to go through some horrible things which I never want to go through, and we have to actually listen to the affidavit statements from Mickey of what's happened to his past. But the people involved in that, they want it to go away. There's stuff coming about in Hollywood about, I think, Ashton Kutcher or somebody is exposing the Illuminati base, whatever it's going to be, abusing children. And of course, what's happening at the moment is they're wanting, well, actually, this is Hollywood, so could you please just shut up? Please just shut up and go away, because it's actually not very nice for us. Right, again, we're still having to stick on the subject of Mickey Summers. You still owe me 5 minutes. Right, well, the child abuse situation, what we're at the moment is as though we know that something's happened. Yeah, like your mother knows something in the background, in your mind, and well, I don't want to talk about it. We don't want to talk about it because this is rape. So we don't want to talk about it really. And as I start to find these things out, and you then start to give evidence and finding out that this stuff's happened, you are watching why people are being sort of aggressive, because they've got to react and slow everybody down. Get out of the way. Once you start to then listen, well, they do seem to think it's a long time in the past, so, oh, I'm really, really sorry, but you know, these things, type of things will happen. And you go, well, really? Well, that's good, because if we're talking about that, we're looking for the people concerned. Because if Mickey was abused, there's others who were abused. We're looking for the same people, and they're not going to be hidden. So we're looking for them. Right, the next stage is how we actually dealt with by Nottingham City Council. Those little bits telling me off on what I'm not allowed to do. You know, we're not allowed to do this or what. We've already had defamation of character, and I was, what's it called when you're not allowed to go anywhere, Mickey, you're not allowed to see your friends? Yeah, I can't remember what it is. Antisocial. Yeah, so I had to sit down. We tape everything, including the information and the information given back by the, what was he called? Richard Ancliffe. Very nice man, tried to help everybody. Yeah, he doesn't. He's an absolute liar, and has actually turned around and is telling me about this antisocial behaviour. So we walked through the orders to see what was done, and it was comedy. I mean, we were actually accused, myself and Mickey, for riding into the council buildings on hobby horses, wearing nappies, Santa's hats, yeah, and delivering a Christmas card, and that scared them, so they put an antisocial behaviour. So I put my hands up, that's in court, they won't go. Next thing we know is, I've got some other friends as well, is a chap who I want to give a shout out is to Joe Public, because he's changed his name to Joe Public, because I think we should have t-shirts for people actually trying to do things. Maybe try to sponsor a Mickey Summers or a Guy Taylor. Who are you? You're Tom Crawford. I think I've seen the t-shirts. I wore one when I was outside his house. right? But people turning up, pretending they're in authority, they get very aggressive. I get people trying to push letters through my door and they run away, like knockdown ginger. I get people sitting in cars, lovely little video of someone hiding behind a newspaper that, I'm nearly out of time, it was hiding behind a newspaper and it says cowards on it, and they run away. The problem is they need you, please just go away, and we just want to talk about what happened. Legal, criminal, whatever you want, this is what's happened, I want to deal with it. Right, so that notice is the first time I met Tom. Since then, I've been down the rabbit hole checking out about my own mortgage, till we get to a point where I've written over and over again, very nicely, hi, I just want to pay off my mortgage, I've got the money here, can you help me? Oh yes, even walked into the branch. Oh yes, how much do you want? Oh, I've got 50,000 to pay off, so I'll write you a cheque tomorrow. Can you just check that you have the mortgage? Right, it's paperwork at the very beginning. So, do I have the, well, oh, we'll look at that, that's okay. Okay then, can we have a look at the paper? Well, we can't tell you, we haven't got that, and we need to, no, okay, can I have the mortgage? Because the paper is a contract between myself and whoever it's going to be, Halifax, Nottingham, Building Society. The contract is always signed between myself, if it's my contract, and an official or competent from these companies. There's two signatures. Right, they're signing for a bank, I'm signing for my life, my house, anything else. Right, they have never been able to sign or find that document, so I've asked for it. Please, can you show me who signed these documents? Go on. Well, I need you to tell me where they are. So their letters will reply such as, the bank's policy can really access through the number 28 bus to West Bridgeford. You know, we're going to have some comedy. It doesn't make sense at all. So I've actually requested all my money back, and I want to find out who's actually got my money I've been paying towards this mortgage, and who's got this non-existent mortgage. I can't go any further with this one because, of course, they don't want to talk to me. I'm not allowed to walk into a building, can't do anything. Each one of these situations, we've got financial and we've got physical assaults. When you're going to go and play a game with these courts, particularly magistrates, even if you're having to deal with arguments between entities and people, you're not allowed in the courts as a man or woman, if you ever realise this. It's only for paperwork. You are not lawfully allowed to be in the building because it's not safe. They believe the magistrates court, which I think the building might be owned by a chap called Cohen, but anyway, it's registered as a business for Nottingham City Council. These magistrates, private business, are trying to bamboozle you, and so when they go for the liability orders, as I say, they're all stamped at the same time, they make thousands and thousands of pounds. Peter knows about this as well, and I watched hundreds of people at the court, well, I'm exaggerating, 50, while they're trying to go through as though they shouldn't be there. And the unfortunate thing for them is what they need to do is clear that paperwork through that court, unless there's a man or woman in front of you. They actually have to sit there in front of that person, read through the court, this is what the manager says and this is the way he's allowed to get the money through, and the magistrates are here not to rule on anything, whether it's right or wrong, just that the gentleman, I can't remember his name, but he's the liability, giving the liabilities out for the council, and says his job, or their job is only and only to grant that liability. Richard Harris. And everybody's walking into the court going like, well, I paid mine, and it's a mistake. Said, no, that's not my job, it's actually this man's already agreed. You're not allowed to be in that court. It's very distressing for them. It's just administration. It's knowing about what the administration is about, not about what you are or what you're doing. As soon as they start using, you might have seen some posters, what is the legal name? Is it lawful? Okay, you're getting an identity for business. The business of business, and that's one business against the other. Nottingham City, well actually it's a company called Nottingham City Council. When they come to me, because I like to get parking tickets, I'm very good at it, they have to send letters to me, and it started right for 3 years. They're tracing me under the name of John 04441. Right, so they actually send letters saying, I've been to court under the name of 04441, and now they're going to visit and take my money off me, but they don't want to mention which court it is. We end up back at the top of the pile, these people in authority, So I actually had to ask the names that Mickey's come across, John Collins, and I'm dealing with little people like traffic wardens, Peter Mitchell, because he sends out tickets. They believe, or want you to believe, it's a court because they can do anything they want. So these type of people, when you ask them, very simple question, not has, and I'm going to be awful about, have you been abused, have you had money stolen, have you had the correct care? You know, the parents of these people who may have been abused, the children, or the children have been taken to them and entrusted into the care of very dangerous people. They're taking the identity and entrusting into a company or a man who's going under the identity of council leader or anything like that. So the question asked was, have I ever been to court under any name? Because you've got men who keep coming to my house telling me that I have warrants of entry into my house, and they've stood standing on my doorstep, and I'm laughing now because I want to go out for a cup of tea when I see these people. Right, so 3 years, they can't answer the questions, a bit like the Halifax Bank asked them. So have I been to court? And they still cannot answer these things. Hence, when we go into court on anything else, we're not allowed to be there. Hence, I've even seen when we turned up by coincidence again. We always turn up, my friends turn up, and luckily have cameras on to see what happens with these incidents. Whichever authority they want to show, well, they're dressing all the people in Nottingham as though they are police officers, because we need the illusion to make sure that somebody doesn't drop dog poo. Okay, it's important, you need, I mean, they're dressing in black with guns and everything now. And you know, there's also a law saying that if you're not carrying a poo bag, you can be prosecuted. So we're going from the level of somebody trying to deal with, hang on a minute, have I got, let me see your poo bags. Thank you very much. Yeah, we know about that one. Yeah? So the levels we're going at, the actual poo we're going through, I say, Guy Taylor. Now, I am going coincidence with Guy. He keeps trying to explain things eloquently. But the people who need to use their identities as a character, such as working within a court or working for a company, there's not much law in this. It is pure business. Hence, like the judge saying, well, we'll try and work out how it's going to work. Yeah, well, what about the people in front of you? That's why the aggro you then get these protests. Yeah? Well, protests aren't good enough. Rejection of people in authority who are pretending to, you don't need to protest against them. They need to be rejected and outed. And as, shall we call it, the ideals of protection for us, it's actually from men and women. You've got to start knowing who you are and how to use your name. As soon as somebody wants to say your name in court, and I say I'm not the first person to be assaulted, I've actually been even there when they're trying to behave themselves, you know, Mrs, what can you, could you sit down, Mrs? You're like, you won't call me Mrs, not me anyway. You can't do that. It says, well, I'm afraid I have to address you as Mrs for the meanings and the reasons we're going into court. You're not human when you're called Mr. or Mrs. You're not human in any way, shape or form. All you can do is administrate the name of the company that is registered to their company. You cannot have men or women walking into a court. Everything must be done on paperwork, so it's rejected. Finally, if we're actually going to get some defence work done, when you're going to stand up in court, which court are you going to? Yeah, so I've done that, and I've got as far as go. The next thing I've got to do is let you know my next meeting is hopefully to supply me with an illegal drug. Apparently, I've got 2 weeks before I'm meant to be assessed for heart surgery, because 5 years while I was running around for doing this, I was crippled for 5 years. I've had 5 years of health. I've been using a substance called Phoenix Tears. I'm not legally allowed to use it, and I've proved to the doctors that I'm dying because of it. So very cautiously, if anybody wants to help me, I need to actually attain some Phoenix Tears. In the next couple of weeks I'm about to go under heart surgery, and I'll explain why if this is true. Okay, so right now all this story has been about I need to stay alive. If you don't hear from me in a couple of weeks, it's been a good time. Now I'm going to go back on with my song. The first day of spring. Thank you.
I was going to like a cigarette on the stage.
I'm sorry I can't finish off that song, so but thank you, Zira, very informative. And just one little add to what you're saying about the documents and the court documents. When you sign that contract that you asked for,
Yep.
it's copywritten. That document that they owe, that you signed, is copywritten. But unless you reserve your rights on your signature, they copyright your signature and use it on other derivatives, and they can take as much money from you because you didn't know the law.
Yeah.
And ignorance of the law is no excuse. And that's why we're here. Now, I'd like to give, on the 22nd of April, there's going to be a huge meeting at the Albert Hall, about 5 minutes from here. We hope to have between 700 and 900 people at it, and it's the return to the rule of law. Everyone is suffering because there's no law in this country. There's law for them. You go into court, in the county court, and you go up against a corporation, a bank, etc. It's one-sided. It's already decided before you walk in the court. If you go up against a man or a woman, against whatever, you do get a court. But as Judge, his name now, but no, our favourite one from, no, not
Favourite one?
Cosmo. Lord Denning. He said that the county courts do not have any right to exist. They do not have the jurisdiction. And these High Court judges know this. They look down upon these lowly county court judges. So there is many things that we could talk about. This is the Wake Up project. This was only announced about a week ago, so I really do thank everyone who's come along. Normally we have a lot of people turn up. We've got about 50, 60, absolutely brilliant, and grateful for every one of you. So on the 22nd of April at the Albert Hall in Nottingham, come along. This is where we get organised. They're organised against us, and there's time interference. They're organised against us. We need to get organised ourselves, and this is to do with groups up and down the country. Our little Wake Up project has been in London, it's in Nottingham, we're going up and down the country, we're into universities and such like. We have to let the young know what's happening to them. As Pippa King has warned people, your children are at risk. As Mickey Summers has warned, the paedophiles are out there. There's a satanic movement, not only in the courts, in the churches, in government, it's everywhere. And they're closing ranks, but they're all on the back foot now because of the likes of Guy Taylor and many other good people standing up against them. So I'd like to thank you all for coming along. Time's been short, and I'm sorry I kept my little disjointed talk, but it's been brilliant, and thank you once again for coming.